The private dining room at Le Bernardin was everything Dad had dreamed of for his 60th birthday: crystal chandeliers casting warm light over pristine white tablecloths, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan's glittering skyline, and the kind of impeccable service that comes with Michelin three-star dining. The evening had cost me $3,000 to arrange, but seeing the joy on my father's face as he savored his favorite lobster dish made every penny worth it. "This is incredible, sweetheart," Dad said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "I can't believe you managed to get us a private room here. Don't they have a 6-month waiting list?" "Something like that," I replied with a smile, not mentioning that I'd gotten the reservation through my company's corporate account, the same account that had catered 3 major events here in the past month totaling over $500,000. My older sister Amanda set down her wine glass with a sharp clink against the table. At 32 she was a successful marketing director at a prestigious Manhattan firm, and she never let anyone forget it. Her husband Derek, an investment banker, nodded in agreement as she spoke. "Jessica, we need to have a serious conversation," Amanda said, her voice taking on that condescending tone I'd grown to hate over the years. "On Dad's birthday?" I asked, hoping to deflect whatever criticism was coming. "Especially on Dad's birthday. Look around this room. Do you have any idea how much this dinner is costing? Le Bernardin doesn't do casual dining. The wine alone probably costs more than your monthly rent." Mom, elegant in her pearl necklace and navy dress, looked uncomfortable. "Amanda, maybe this isn't the time." "No, Mom, someone needs to say it." Amanda's voice was getting louder, drawing glances from our waiter who was preparing the next course. "Jessica is 26 years old, living in a studio apartment in Queens, working some vague consulting job that none of us understand, and yet she's constantly trying to pay for expensive dinners, buying elaborate gifts, acting like she has money she clearly doesn't have." "I do have money," I said quietly. Derek laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. "Really? What's your annual income, Jessica?" "Because Amanda makes $180,000 a year plus bonuses. I make $350,000. We know what real money looks like." "Stop pretending you have money, Jessica," Amanda continued, her voice now carrying across the dining room. "It's embarrassing. For all of us. You're going to end up in debt trying to keep up appearances." My younger brother Michael, 24 and fresh out of his MBA program, nodded seriously. "Amanda's right. I've been tracking my expenses since graduation, and I know exactly what it costs to live in New York. There's no way a freelance consultant can afford dinners like this." "Freelance consultant?" I repeated, genuinely confused. "Whatever it is you do with computers," Amanda said dismissively. "The point is, you need to stop this fantasy and start living within your means. Dad's birthday dinner should be at a nice chain restaurant, not the most expensive place in Manhattan." Dad looked stricken. "If this is too much." "It's not too much for me," I said firmly. "This is exactly where I wanted to celebrate Dad's birthday." "With what money?" Amanda demanded. "Your credit cards are probably maxed out paying for this charade." "I'm not using credit cards." Derek pulled out his phone. "You know what? Let's settle this right now. Show us your bank account balance. If you really have money, prove it." "Derek," Mom said sharply, "that's inappropriate." "No, it's necessary," Amanda said. "Jessica needs a reality check before she ruins her financial future trying to impress us." I looked around the table at my family, these people I loved dearly who had supported me through college and celebrated my achievements, but who had somehow concluded that I was living beyond my means and heading for financial ruin. "You really think I can't afford this dinner?" I asked. "We know you can't afford this dinner," Amanda said. "The question is whether you're finally ready to admit it." The waiter approached our table with the dessert course, an elaborate chocolate souffle that was Dad's favorite. As he set it down, I could see him trying to pretend he hadn't heard the increasingly tense conversation. "Actually," I said, reaching into my purse, "let me prove you right." I pulled out my Black American Express card, the invitation-only Centurion card that required a $10,000 annual fee and had no preset spending limit. The card was made of titanium and had a distinctive weight that somehow felt reassuring in my hand. "Oh please," Amanda rolled her eyes. "A black card? How much did you pay for that fake?" "It's not fake, Jessica," Derek said with exaggerated patience. "Real black cards require you to charge at least $250,000 per year. They don't just give them to anyone. I know what they require. I handed the card to our waiter, who accepted it professionally despite the obvious family tension. For the full bill, please. Of course, Ms. Anderson. As he walked away, Amanda shook her head sadly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so desperate to appear successful that you're using fake credit cards. Do you have any idea what the penalty is for credit card fraud? It's not fraud. Then why are you so nervous? Michael observed. You look like you're about to throw up. I wasn't nervous about the card being fake. I was nervous about what was going to happen when it got declined for an entirely different reason. A reason my family would never expect. 5 minutes later, our waiter returned, looking apologetic and slightly confused. Ms. Anderson, I'm sorry, but there seems to be an issue with your card. The table fell silent. An issue? I asked, though I had a pretty good idea what the issue was. It was declined. Would you like to try another payment method? The silence that followed was deafening, then Amanda burst out laughing. Oh my God, Jessica. Your fake black card got declined. This is priceless. Derek was laughing too. A fake Centurion card that doesn't even work. That's a new low. I told you she was pretending, Amanda said to our parents, who looked mortified. Now we're all going to be stuck with this bill because Jessica had to play dress up. Michael was shaking his head. Jess, this is seriously messed up. Using fake credit cards, lying about having money. I wasn't lying, I said, but my voice was lost in their laughter and criticism. Ma'am, the waiter said quietly, should I bring the bill to someone else? Just give me a minute, I said, pulling out my phone. What are you doing? Amanda asked, still giggling. Calling your credit card company to ask why your fake card doesn't work. I was about to respond when a man in an expensive suit hurried into our private dining room. I recognized him immediately, Thomas Chin, the restaurant's general manager, who I'd worked with extensively on several large catering events. Ms. Anderson, he said, slightly out of breath. I am so sorry. I just heard about the payment issue. The laughter at our table stopped abruptly. Thomas, I said calmly, is there a problem with the payment system? No, the system is fine. The issue is that we still owe you $500,000 from last month's catering contract. Your black card was declined because our accounting department flagged it. We can't charge someone who we already owe money to. The silence that fell over our table was absolute. I could hear the soft jazz music playing in the main dining room, the distant clink of silverware, the gentle hum of conversation from other tables. But at our table nothing. $500,000? Dad whispered. From the Morrison Industries Gala, the Goldman Sachs private dinner, and the United Nations reception, Thomas explained, consulting his tablet. All catered through your company, Anderson Events. We've been trying to process the payment, but your accounting department said to hold the check until after the quarterly review. That's fine, Thomas. Just comp tonight's dinner against the outstanding balance. Of course, Ms. Anderson. Again, my sincere apologies for the confusion. He hurried away, leaving us in stunned silence. Anderson Events? Mom asked weakly. Pie company, I said simply. Your company, Amanda repeated, her voice barely audible. The event planning and catering business I've been building for the past 4 years. Derek was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. You own an event planning company? I own the largest luxury event planning company on the East Coast. We handle corporate galas, private parties, weddings, and cultural events for high-net-worth clients and Fortune 500 companies. But you said you were a consultant, Michael said. I said I consult with people about events. Which is technically accurate. Amanda's face had gone completely white. How large is the largest luxury event planning company? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, turning the screen so they could all see it. Last year's revenue was $47 million. This year we're on track for $68 million. $68 million, Dad said faintly. Dollars. Our client list includes 12 Fortune 100 companies, 43 high-net-worth individuals with assets over $50 million, and we're the exclusive event planners for the United Nations, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the New York Philharmonic. The Metropolitan Museum, Mom whispered. You know that charity gala you attended last month? The one for cancer research that raised $12 million? I planned that event. Derek was frantically typing on his phone. Anderson Events. Holy shit. You're Jessica Anderson? The Jessica Anderson. I'm a Jessica Anderson. I don't know if I'm the Jessica Anderson. Forbes 30 Under 30, he read from his phone. Named one of New York's most influential event planners. Estimated net worth of $25 million. $28 million as of last quarter, I corrected quietly. Amanda looked like she was going to be sick. $28 million? Plus the value of the business itself, real estate holdings and investment portfolio. But you live in Queens, Michael said weakly. I live in a penthouse in Long Island City with a private terrace overlooking Manhattan. The building has its own helipad. Helipad. It's convenient for getting to events in the Hamptons. The waiter returned with a bottle of champagne. Compliments of the house, Ms. Anderson. Manager Chen wanted to apologize again for the payment confusion. As he poured the champagne into our glasses, the silence at our table stretched on. My family was processing the information, trying to reconcile the sister and daughter they thought they knew with the multimillionaire businesswoman sitting across from them. I don't understand, Dad said finally. You're worth $28 million and you let us think you were struggling? I never said I was struggling. You live simply. You dress modestly. You drive a regular car, Amanda said, her voice still shocked. I live simply because I work 18-hour days and don't have time for material possessions. I dress modestly because my clients need to focus on their events, not on my outfit. And I drive a regular car because it's reliable and doesn't draw attention. But why didn't you tell us? Mom asked, tears starting to form in her eyes. Because I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what I've achieved. Because I wanted to build something completely on my own, without anyone being able to say I succeeded because of family connections or help. We don't have connections in event planning, Derek pointed out. Exactly. Which is why I knew that whatever I built would be entirely my own accomplishment. Amanda was still staring at her phone, reading what appeared to be news articles about my company. You planned the Bloomberg Foundation Gala. The one that was covered in Vanity Fair. And the Rockefeller wedding, the Goldman Sachs anniversary party, and the UN's 75th anniversary celebration. The UN anniversary celebration, Michael repeated slowly. That was on the news. They said it was the most expensive private event in New York history. $12 million budget. Took 6 months to plan and execute. And you planned it. I planned it, managed it, and executed it flawlessly. Just like I've done for 200 other major events in the past 4 years. Dad reached across the table and took my hand. Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you. But I'm also confused. Why all the secrecy? Because I was afraid of this, I gestured around the table. I was afraid that once you knew about the money, you'd start seeing me differently. That suddenly my opinions would matter more, that you'd treat me like someone important instead of just, Jessica. You are someone important, Mom said firmly. You're our daughter. But would you have said that an hour ago when you thought I was a struggling consultant? The question hung in the air, unanswered because we all knew the truth. I feel like an idiot, Amanda said quietly. I spent the entire evening lecturing you about money management when you're worth more than Derek and I will probably make in our entire careers combined. You're not an idiot. You were trying to protect me from what you thought was financial irresponsibility. By humiliating you in front of the entire restaurant. By caring enough about my future to risk an uncomfortable conversation. Derek was still scrolling through his phone. According to this article, you employed 200 people full-time and another 500 contractors. 237 full-time employees as of last week, I corrected. We just hired a new creative director. You have employees, Michael said, shaking his head in amazement. I have employees, office space in Manhattan and the Hamptons, a warehouse facility in Queens, and partnerships with vendors across the country. And we thought you were broke, Amanda said, laughing despite herself. Not broke. Just not interested in flaunting wealth. Thomas Chin returned to our table with a leather folder. Ms. Anderson, I've taken care of tonight's charges. They've been applied to your outstanding balance. Is there anything else we can do for you this evening? Actually, Thomas, I'd like to book the private wine cellar for next month. I'm planning a surprise anniversary party for my parents. Of course. 50 guests. Make it 100. I want to invite the extended family. Consider it done. I'll have my events coordinator contact your office tomorrow. After he left, Mom was crying openly now. A surprise anniversary party? 35 years deserves something special. I was thinking a jazz trio, your favorite flowers, and that chocolate dessert Dad loves. But the cost. Dad started. Dad, I plan $12 million events for clients. Your anniversary party will be the most important event I plan all year, and cost won't be a factor. Because you're rich, Amanda said, still processing. Because you're my family and I love you. The champagne had been poured and Dad raised his glass with slightly shaking hands. To my daughter Jessica, who apparently has been surprising us for years. To family, I corrected, and to the people who love you even when they think you're making terrible financial decisions. To family, everyone echoed, and for the first time all evening, the laughter around our table was warm and genuine. I have one more question, Michael said as we finished our champagne. The black card that got declined is completely real. Centurion cards get declined when the merchant owes you more money than you're trying to spend. Which happens to you regularly? More often than you'd think. The catering business involves a lot of upfront expenses and delayed payments. Amanda shook her head. My sister, the secret millionaire. Not secret anymore. Are you happy? Mom asked suddenly. With everything you've built, all the success, are you actually happy? I looked around the table at my family. These people who had raised me, supported me through college, and worried about my financial future even when they had no idea what my actual finances looked like. I love what I do. I love the challenge of creating perfect events, the satisfaction of exceeding clients' expectations, the thrill of managing complex logistics. And I love being able to use my success to give Dad the birthday dinner he deserves. At Le Bernardin, Dad said, smiling through his own tears. At the best restaurant in New York, because that's where my father deserves to celebrate his 60th birthday. Even if his children thought his daughter couldn't afford it, Amanda added ruefully. Especially because his children love him enough to worry about financial responsibility. Derek raised his glass again. To Jessica Anderson, event planning mogul and apparently the most successful person any of us know. To Jessica, Mom corrected, who remembered that family is more important than keeping secrets. As we left Le Bernardin that evening, walking out into the cool Manhattan night, I realized that some revelations are worth the temporary embarrassment they cause. My family knew the truth now, and somehow that made everything I'd built feel more real, more meaningful. Next time, Amanda said, linking her arm through mine, maybe just lead with, I'm a multi-millionaire, instead of letting us worry about your fake credit cards. Deal, I laughed. As long as you promise to keep worrying about my financial decisions. Successful or not, I still need my big sister looking out for me. Always, she said. Though maybe with a little less public humiliation next time. Where's the fun in that? The walk back to our cars was filled with questions about the business, stories about celebrity clients, and plans for the anniversary party. But mostly, it was filled with the kind of comfortable family conversation that comes when you finally stop pretending to be someone you're not. Sometimes the best gift you can give your family isn't an expensive dinner or a surprise party. It's the gift of being completely, authentically yourself. Even when that self happens to be worth $28 million.